All right,
Hi,
praise God.
everybody. Hello,
Yes.
everyone. Hello, hello. I am Jewel Diamond Taylor. I am the host and the creator of Inner Views. Since 2009, I've been blessed to interview fascinating people. I love interviewing people, the ordinary person that doesn't normally get the big spotlight, the person that's really living in their purpose, a person who has a great story of testimony, inspiration. We can learn from so many people, and I'm blessed to have in my immediate circle some amazing people. And today, I'm so glad that my sister friend Paula Watts from Atlanta, by way of Maryland, where I first met her, by way of Asheville, North Carolina, where she was actually born. Welcome, my sister Paula.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited. Back
Can you believe
together
we're
again.
doing this? Can you believe
Yes.
it? Oh my
Yes.
gosh. As I've watched your arc just go up and up with your business and your faith walk, as I've watched your arc go from asking me 1,000 questions and like, what are you doing? And what is this all about? To actually see you manifest in so many ways. I was so anxious to introduce you to my audience, Paula, because you've gone through, when I first met you, you're going through a divorce, moving several times, betrayed by your business partners, restraining orders, verbal abuse, alcoholic husband, depression, panic attacks. And yet you were always available to me whenever I would come to the DMV area. You'd pick me up, you'd let me stay at your home. We would have long, deep conversations. We would cry together. And you would come and help me at my book signings, at my events back there. And you would sit there in wonder, in awe. And now look at you. Please share with my audience how you became an author. You've added another bullet point on your biography. Can you hold up your book?
Oh, yes. The name of the book is That's Crazy, Recognize Crazy and Run. And there was a method and a rationale behind naming the book That's Crazy, Recognize Crazy and Run, because so often we get into various situations and we'll say, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it really is. And before you know it, you're caught up in other people's madness without even understanding how you got caught up in it and how to get out of it. So that was one of the reasons that I wrote the book. And God placed you in my life as a lifeline. And I said that often to you. Those days where, again, I didn't want to live no more. And you don't know how many times I put in your CD, just hearing your voice, or you're
Oh,
calling me and just explaining to me what I was going through. I didn't really even know what I was going through.
wow.
And especially when I lost my father, because she was with me that week when I got the call,
Yes.
and helping me to understand that now was going to be a different normal. I wasn't anybody else. I wasn't his baby girl no more. So
Right.
I am forever grateful to you, my sister, for helping me and walking with me through that part of this journey.
Wow. I received that and I thank you so much. When I asked you, when we talked about doing this together, I said, Paula, what should we call this? And you said, well, it's Friday night, so we're going to call it Wind Down. So I
Yes,
got my wine.
yes, yes, I did, but I didn't have time to go to the store to get my wine. So take one from me, my sister. Thank you.
And
It's
honey,
wine.
I've had a week of
Yes,
whiskey
yes,
and I
yes,
need it. I
yes,
need that sip. But
yes.
I've learned to be still and to accept how God uses us and that sometimes we're not even aware of the divine intervention, that we're there planted in someone's life. You just do what you do. And I wasn't looking for any thank yous. It was just divine timing. And, for me to come back east as often as I did, gave us the opportunity to have those deep therapeutic conversations, because you just can't send a card and it's done. We
Yes.
were able to walk through your emotions,
Yes.
and you had so many landmines: the divorce, the restraining orders, the moving, the financial setbacks, the death of your father, what daddy's girl, and not knowing that few years later, you'd be holding my hand through the transition of my son.
Mm.
So when you say that's crazy,
Yes.
and you're helping people through your book to recognize it, so they can, what can we do when we recognize crazy? What are you telling us in your book?
Um, I think for me, that was my normalcy. And I think one of the reasons I chose to get a degree in psychology, even at a young age, I knew there was mental health issues within my family,
Mhm.
and understanding what that was really about. I became a rescuer. I wanted to save everyone. I
Yeah.
was the peacemaker because it was always sometimes chaotic because of the mental health. And so as I started with various relationships, I found that's what I was attracting, because that was normal for me.
That was
And
normal.
it, and that almost took me out.
It was
Um,
familiar to you. It's like, oh, I
huh?
know how to do that.
So what? Yeah,
It was normal
yeah,
to you. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
know how to deal with this. And then
It,
I
it
wonder,
was,
was there a sense of, do we lose a sense of worthiness? Like, I don't deserve this. I don't want this. But if it's what you've seen throughout your life, you just figure that's just the way it's going to be. When was a turning point for you, Paula?
a turning point as it relates to putting an end to all those different relationships that I was in at the same time. And let me just give a brief background on these relationships.
Okay.
Um, Again, I started my first business when I was 35 and received my first $1 million in that business. Second year, I received another $3 million contract. And I continued to grow the business to close to $15 million in contracts. And I had no clue what I was doing.
Mm.
And I was bringing on people, being that savior, bringing a lot of them along the lines and putting them
Right.
in positions in my company that I should not have.
Wow.
And so when we were at our peak, which meant I had almost 15 million and 40 employees, that's exactly when I met you on that Sister Summit retreat, because I just needed to get away from what was going on in that office. At the same time, I started the business. I had just gotten married, and I got married to a husband who was an alcoholic. So it was learning to manage and survive without being pulled into their world.
Right.
One of the business partners felt like he could run all his personal expenses through the company. I ended up terminating him. He then conspired with two employees to sue me and the other partner for sexual harassment. And that's when the ball started rolling, meaning he started stalking me after I fired him. I ended up having to get a restraining order on him. And throughout that marriage, and I like to say a business relationship is a marriage because you still
It
have to
is.
go through the same type of divorce.
Yes, yes, yes.
um, he was verbally abusive to me, calling me bees and names that I never been even called or even thought about being called. And for me, the trigger point to end that relationship was when he threatened one of my employees. As long as he was abusing me and I could keep it quiet,
Uh-huh.
none of the employees saw that, it was good. But as soon as he threatened that employees, I got into my rescue mode. Okay, no, those are you can't do that. And that gave me the strength to say, you're out of here. You're out of here.
Wow.
And at that point, it didn't matter. And for me, I would say by 40, I was a multimillionaire. But for me, it felt like that money was not good money
Yes,
because
yes.
people were suing me. I was going through the divorce. The husband cost me $10,000. And it was like, ooh, get rid of the money. I didn't want the money. I want to be poor like everybody else. But that was my attitude towards the end.
Now, you kind of started in the middle of your life, but do I remember hearing you say that you were questioning your value, your happiness at a young age, that you wanted to commit suicide, that you just wanted out?
Well, I think what was happening at that point, and when I recall, um, because I had family members that were having the mental challenges, I felt like at that point I had to pull everyone together. And maybe that was not necessarily thinking of it as my value. Mine was just, I just wanted everyone to be happy.
Be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a term now that's called parentification, when children have to act like the parent, when the parents are out of control or unhealthy or toxic or
Mm-hmm.
absent. Young children mature very quickly and they step into the role of the parent to keep down the conflict and pay the bills and
Yes.
dress themselves and make decisions for themselves and take care of the people that are broken and sick. And so you're a good example of that. And Paula, I talk a lot about in my books and in my counseling and in my teaching about, because I'm one of those too. Mine wasn't as extreme as yours, but I realized that why I was so passionate about teaching emotional wellness, because I too stepped into the shoes of being, okay, I'll take everybody. Okay, I'll fix it. Okay, I'll do Christmas. I'll do Easter. Okay, you need some money. You need a ride. Okay, let's not argue. Let's get together. Let's do this. And it was so natural for me until I realized I was getting burned out. And I don't know if you experienced this, that when you start stepping out of those shoes, did you feel guilty? Did you feel like you were neglecting people? How did you feel when you recognized, I got to take this superwoman cape off?
Oh, absolutely. I think for me, the first step was accepting what was going on with me and getting therapy to begin to understand why I was attracting these types of behavior and why was I consistently placing myself in that position. And my background, being raised as a Catholic, um, and I ended up leaving Catholicism, it definitely made me feel guilty. So when I was when I had to shut the business down in the same year, get divorced in the same year, I moved 10 times
Yes, I
within a
remember.
3 year of time. And then my father dying, I thought I was being punished. I thought God was punishing me.
Yeah.
And that's where my depression came in.
And you know what, Paula? When you said that, I want my audience to hear me right now. Everything that you just said are critical moments in one's life. And for a person to say, I'm unhappy, I'm sad, we need to know that that is a normal response to a crisis. You had a string of crises, not just one, not just two, not just three. You had a series of major life changing crises. And for us to feel like, oh, I shouldn't be sad. Oh, I shouldn't be depressed. Oh, why not? It's what do we do with those feelings? And I find that so many people feel like, oh, I was depressed. Well, who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be sad? Who wouldn't feel like God is God mad at me? Is God punishing me?
Mhm.
I'm at a place in my mind and in my teaching where I'm helping people to understand that we got to own our feelings. We've got to embrace it and say, yep, that's what I'm feeling. But then the next step is, what do I do with these feelings? And I think a lot of people just don't know what to do. But what you did is you wrote a book. This is crazy. And you're providing a guidepost for others through the transparency of your life. And I'm wondering, Paula, because I coach a lot of people that come to me and say, Jewel, I want to write a book, but I don't want mama, daddy, sister, brother, husband, children mad at me because I am sharing my story. Did you have any of those apprehensions?
Oh, absolutely. That's why the names have been changed to protect the
To
innocent
protect you.
and haven't been sued once. I've had my attorney to go through it to make sure that I will not be sued again. And again,
I
it
want
was,
I want authors that are on the grow to hear what you just said. You made sure that you protected yourself and you sought out legal advice before you published the book. That is so smart.
uh, you don't want to go through a lawsuit. I've already been there.
Mhm,
Remember, that's crazy. That's what I was dealing with. And
mhm.
not understanding this book was not even written for them. It was written one for me and God,
Yeah.
because I never in a million years would think I would write a book. I'm not an author. I, I wasn't proficient in English and grammar and all of that.
Me too. Me too. But when you're writing about your life, who knows it better than you?
And
Who knows
God.
it better than you? And it was very cathartic for you to write it,
Yes.
to release and to,
Mhm.
to move forward and to shake it off. You know, the word of God says we got to shake the dust off our feet. And a lot of people are walking around with muddy shoes because they can't shake it off. They haven't found a safe place to land. They haven't found a healthy relationship with a counselor or therapy or a support group to just tell their raw truth. And that's what you did with your book. And I'm so proud of you because I saw on social media the wonderful launch of your book. You went back home. You live in Atlanta, but you went back to where it all started in Asheville, North Carolina, and you did a wonderful launching of the book. And your community was there to support you. What was some of the feedback that you got from them after they read your book? And I saw that people were reading from the book at the launch.
Well, um, they appreciate the transparency, that it was empowering. And what was the most success for me in that event was we had a young man there who had talked about he was going through depression,
Oh,
and he had thought about taking his life. And for me, it was empowering because he had a safe zone, a safe space to even feel free to say that. Because for me, the book launch again was more so making sure that we talk about mental health and wellness in our community,
mhm.
because particularly Black women, we've trained ourselves. We put the smile on. We're so
Yeah.
pretty.
Oh, yeah. We're
and
blessed and highly favored. We're good.
and I think again, God allowed me to sit at your feet for 2 years after I closed the business, if you remember, where I got to travel with you to the different women's events.
Yes.
And every time I was supposed to be your assistant, but by the time I was through, Jewel has broken me down and I'm crying with everybody else. But the crying is healing. But
Yes.
for me, I felt like that would make me weak. I hated crying because for four
Okay.
years I just cried. I couldn't stop crying.
Mm.
But it also was a cleansing part too, because I will always say your retreat. You coming in, you happy, and you start talking to us and making us remove those bags. And by the time we're broken down, but you break us down, but you build us back up with love. By the time we're through, we're loving everything
I
because
know. Well, that's why I'm called the self-esteem doctor, because, you know, getting surgery doesn't feel good. Nobody likes to be cut deep, and I cut deep. And, but the results is that the healing of the wound, you have to open. I do what I call open heart surgery, and that's what I do, is open up the heart and go to those places that we hid or we pretended. We live in an age of great pretenders.
yes,
And when you're willing to be a patient and say, I don't like how this feels, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of being a victim. I'm tired of choosing fools. I'm tired of, all the crazy things in my life. Then you make yourself available to the open heart surgery that I do. And I tell people all the time, if you think I came here to make you comfortable, then you're in the wrong place. You've got to kind of, oh, wait a minute, I'm uncomfortable. And that's a good sign, because now we're tapping into something that needs to be revealed and healed. And I'm so glad to hear your testimony of your experience. And I want to kind of go back to what you were saying about that young man, because by me being a mother of a son and seeing the challenges he goes through in life, and hearing so many mothers that come to me who have sons and fathers and husbands that are just pressing and pressing and pressing and trying to keep up, and never acknowledging their emotional side because they're told that's being too feminine.
yes,
And never having the language to talk about, something's not right.
yes,
I'm feeling defeated. I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling confused. I don't feel heard. I feel like there's a target on my back with all this racial tension going on. I'm so glad that young man was able to speak up and let you know that your book, hold up your book again.
that's crazy.
Your book, That's Crazy, has nothing to do with gender, has nothing to do with age, has nothing to do with race. That all of us, if we're not guarded, if we don't get equipped, then we will be whipped by manipulators. We will be whipped by dysfunctional family members. We'll be whipped into thinking that there's something wrong with us. And it's just that we have not been given the tools or hear the stories to say, oh, that's me. Oh, that's my boss. That's my guy. That's my mom. That's my friend. And when people like you and I can be transparent, it is, I believe, our highest intention that someone will be able to say, oh my God, that's what it is. And we'll seek help, and we'll get your book, and we'll say, let me read the guideposts that Paula Watts has written about in her book. Because I promise everybody, you will find yourself in the book.
Yes. Yes.
We're living in an age where I find in my counseling, there are so many people that have, I'll put it this way, estranged relationships with their mom or with their dad. I just got finished counseling not too long ago with a woman who shared with me she was sexually violated by her own father for 4 years. That was hard for her to speak that truth. But in her speaking the truth, there was something that was lifted off of her. And I believe we're living in an age where people are taking that risk to tell the truth. And it's not that you want to demonize a person, vilify your mom, vilify your dad, vilify your husband. It's like these people became your teachers, right? And I think a lot of people are afraid to say, look, I'm taking care of my parent and they never liked me. I can't tell my people that told me that. Jewel, I'm up here bathing and feeding and taking to the doctor this parent who
Mm,
treated me like a piece of shit.
yeah.
I'm talking to people who are telling me, Jewel, I was sexually violated. Jewel, we had people with mental illness in our family, and people just closed the door and just said, oh, you know how he is, but
Yes.
nobody addressed it.
No.
I'm so
And
glad you're contributing to this collective conversation.
because we're no longer, and you think about it, as long as we've survived since we've gotten here, from generations to generation,
Yeah,
and just really being Black in America, you're traumatized every day.
every day.
To me, it's no different than the slavery days when those mothers held on to those babies before
Yeah,
they were auctioned out. It's the same fear I see in a lot of my students and clients through my program. We're afraid to send our children outside.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
it's not just we're dealing with the police, but we're dealing with the peers killing each other. And for
Right.
me, something is wrong that we're now desensitized to these kids killing each other. Something is wrong here.
Something is
But we're
wrong.
not addressing it, or we don't have the tools or the resources. And it just keeps going on and on and on. And my goal is that we have our village back. And for me personally, being a child of the integration,
Mm-hmm.
what they did in North Carolina was broke my community.
Yeah,
Meaning, all we went to these schools
we're just fragmented. Yeah.
that did not have people to teach me that looked like me,
Mm-hmm. Say
and so
that.
they broke my community. And then what I saw in the next generation was that in my town they have dumped. Well, first it started with my nephews. They started labeling them in the first and second grade.
Right.
ADD. They
Hey,
can't,
yeah, all those letters. Yep, yep.
they can't do this. So by the eighth grade, they done dumped crack into this community.
Yes.
Now they done dropped out of school because they can make more money than they're not being valued in school.
Exactly.
And they were selling the crack to my generation. So now that we've lost two generations, that I'm trying to pull back and for us to get educated from the business side of it and our mental health. We need both.
And what
So,
happens is that they may not get on crack, but then you put them on medication in the school and you give the medical staff, the nurses, they're able to profile them, give them medication, dull their senses, dull their brain, while not even offering any alternative way of teaching. Not all children are visual learners or auditory learners. Not all children are creative. Not all children are musical. Not all children are athletic, and so it's such a crime what is happening in the education system. And we could go on and on about that, but for now, let's just kind of begin to close by talking about where everyone can get your book. And then, second, enlighten them about what GPI is, because you have an amazing track record of empowering people. So please tell us where everyone can get the book.
you can get the book in two places, store.bookbaby.com. I get a better deal on that website than Amazon,
Okay.
although it is on Amazon, but I'm a businesswoman. So the best place to buy it for me is through store.bookbaby.com.
Okay.
I'm also the founder and CEO of Government Procurement Innovators, better known as GPI. My slogan is "We create millionaires."
Yes, you do.
Uh, through my program, we're able to train businesses on how to access federal contracts, how to grow their business successfully and sustain those business. For me, this is about creating generational wealth
Yeah.
And having been up in DC and all those years and played with all those firms and seeing this is the game changer for our future.
Yeah.
So
Can you
for
tell maybe one success story from GPI that you were able to birth? Because you have so many. Is there one in particular that you could share? Because I know as you were talking to me and teaching me, it just went over my head.
Everybody's not there, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? That's my passion. You know what I
I
mean?
know, and I love your passion. And so I know you have hundreds of success stories. Can you share one so people get a sense of the validity and the influence and the impact you can have on someone's life, as you said, in creating generational wealth?
Um, I'll just do two quick ones. One that started
Uh-huh.
her business January 2020, just when the pandemic kicked off.
Okay.
And as of last December 21, she's won 10 contracts valuing 1.5 million.
Hmm.
This young lady, she has set the bar for everyone now because she has two children under 5. She's still working full time.
What?
And she is grinding and have won 10 contracts. So
Are
there's
you
no,
able to say what type of field it's in? Because I know you got to
yeah,
protect your
her
privacy.
background was IT. The
Okay.
contracts that she was winning was one to replace the HVAC equipment. The other one was doing landscaping. The one that she just won last month was to staff up a mess hall. And the only thing she's doing is hiring the people to work on those contracts. One of my most successful one is this young man who he had just started his business 2 years, walked him through the process, helped him get approved into one of SBA's program, Mentor Protege. He created a joint venture, and the first contract that he won was for $53 million. Last month, he called me and told me, I have another one coming through there for $100 million.
And what is his age group? What is his demographic? What is his age group?
He's 50.
50. Okay. Okay.
Yes. So that's how we create generational wealth. But so many of us started business on our skill set because you think how we're trained to be laborers. That's how we were brought.
Yes,
So
that is the comfort zone. Yeah, that is the familiarity that we know how to do that. But I think what you're tapping into right now when you said that was part of my intimidation. When you're not used to being the boss, you're not used to managing. And when you said you had 40 employees, I mean, just with my Women on the Grow Tribe, just managing all the personalities and needs and requests and keeping it flowing is like, I never thought I could do that. But to do it on the level where you're managing all this money is a financial mindset that we have to develop. And I know that was an area that I had to grow in, is being comfortable managing money and doing it smart. So could you also please share with my audience on today's Jewel Diamond Taylor's interview series, could you tell them how to contact Paula Watts, CEO and founder of GPI?
You can go to my website at www.gpiwin.com. That's gpiwin.com. And Joel, I know we're getting ready to close, and I like to close with what makes GPI different.
Please.
What makes GPI different? Because my God is a strategic God. Either in this space, in the government contracting world, you're either a consultant helping businesses or you're a government employee helping businesses. God strategically placed me in both sides. So I was on the inside of the government as well. I ran a business. So no one's talking to each other. And I was able to pull the two together.
Yeah, you bridged the two. And in this pandemic, there's no excuse not to connect with you and get the training because you do it through Zoom. I know you archive your lessons. I know that you are operate with integrity and passion, and you have a track record of success. And
Yes.
I just pray that that one that's listening right now and saying, "Oh my God, I need to reach out to her." Please don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Don't be intimidated. Go ahead and ask the questions. This is Paula's passion. Go ahead and get the book. And if it's not for you, get it for someone that you know. It could be a coworker, a church member, a family member. Go ahead and get the book, and let's recycle our Black dollars. Let's do that. Let's practice Kwanzaa, past Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is not just toward the end of the year. We should be practicing those principles throughout the year. I am Jewel Diamond Taylor, and I'm here to endorse my sister, Paula Watts, who is an amazing, phenomenal woman. I love you. Thank you so much for
I
your
love
time
you too.
and sharing your book. That's crazy.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate
Yes.
you.
This
All
was so
right.
great, so fun. I love you, honey. Stay
All
in the
right.
light.
Bye bye.